Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is Movie Crap. Now, this is my movie news show that I do weekly. It starts with news items, which I give my opinion on and tell you about. And then I do a few articles and short videos and things. And then I move on to trailers. And we have a lot of trailers that are bigger and stuff, which are at the end. So if you want to check those out, you can. Okay, so the big news. Let's start off with, I guess, the biggest news that Hayao Miyazaki is going to be coming out of retirement. This was leaked by longtime producer Toshiro Suzuki at a press event for the Red Turtle before the Oscars, saying right now he's putting all his efforts into making the feature, whatever that means. We do know he's working on a CG animated short called Boro the Caterpillar, so he's not exactly like retired. But the thing is everyone's saying that Boro the Caterpillar is now a feature. Literally all we know is right now in Tokyo he's putting all his effort into making the feature. What the feature could be, I guess they mean the feature. Maybe he said the feature and went the feature and he meant Boro the Caterpillar and it's like wrong or something. Knowing Miyazaki and most of my life knowing Miyazaki films, it feels like he's always retiring, so it's like, you know, whatever. I don't know if what he's making is a Boro the Caterpillar feature. We just know he's supposedly working on one and his longtime producer said he is, and we assume Boro the Caterpillar is even still happening. Or maybe that's done. Or maybe nothing means anything, and Miyazaki saying he's gonna stop working on stuff doesn't mean like anything at all ever, even though the last press conference for The Wind Rises, he promised that this was it. Clearly, maybe it's not. I would very much like a new Miyazaki short. I would like to see what happens to Boro the Caterpillar as well, but we'll see. Or maybe that's the same thing. Really, we know absolutely nothing other than this one dude said this one thing, and probably this is going to happen and stuff. An update on Lego Movie 2. BoJack Horseman creator Raphael Bob Wackersberg, apparently in a podcast called the Shyamalan on Batman podcast. That's a podcast? Fucking no pizza party, I'll tell you that. Lego Movie 2 is going to be a big musical and space action movie, and apparently the script was reworked. I'm not sure if that was because of the fallout with Rob Schrab and the new director Mike Mitchell. There's going to be spacesuits and big musical numbers, according to the guy who wrote BoJack Horseman, who wrote this script. I'm interested. I'm like super confused on what this movie is going to be, but I'm assuming the spaceman who Charlie from It's Always Sunny, whose name is escaping me right now, will play a major role in it. I'm assuming because it's in space. I just went on a limb there. I don't really know. Lego Movie 2 is scheduled for release in February 2009, so I guess we can find out then. I also want to talk about the Ducktales trailer, which came out today. Even though it's not a movie trailer, I like Ducktales a lot, so it's my show, so who cares? I really like the animation to it. I really like what looks like the adventure in it, and I think they really nailed DuckTales very well. I love David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck. I like the voice of Donald a lot. Huey, Dewey, and Louie honestly sound to me like celebrity voices. I was not as into that. Obviously, they're trying to go away from the voices in DuckTales, which are more like duck-ish, kind of like Donald. I want them to be clearer, I guess. I'm not in love with them, but it generally, like, there's a lot going on in this trailer, so I'm kind of sort of hold judgment until I see an actual episode. In fact, I didn't really love anyone's voice other than David Tennant. But the general style of it, which reminds me of the Mickey Mouse shorts, I thought I really loved. It's a little different, but generally in that mode. And I thought that was done very well. And I'm excited for it this summer, and it looks like a really cool, fun kids adventure show, which is exactly what I'd want from DuckTales. And also, I know this is early, but I'll talk about it early because it's the Guardians 2 trailer. For my money, probably the first really good Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer. It's the first one I've really liked, and I think it does a great job. We finally get a look at Kurt Russell. We finally kind of get some idea of what the plot is, not really. But I actually think it really highlights the fun. It was the first trailer where I'm like, okay, I think this is actually going to be good. I didn't really think it was going to be bad, but there hadn't been a trailer that I thought really excited me the way this one did. The uncut Star Wars trilogy coming to Blu-ray thing that has come up again. So first off, let me explain how this rumor happened and why there's a good chance this might not happen for a while, the actuality of it. First off, I guess this started when Gareth Edwards, the director of Rogue One, stated that he knows there is a 4K cut of the original 1977 Star Wars, unaltered, unspecial editions and shit, and it is there on Lucasfilm, and he saw them working on it. And so that kind of sparked rumors that this could happen. This year being the 40th anniversary of Star Wars and the 40th anniversary of the release coming up, people insinuated that there could be a new Blu-ray release of the unspecial edition versions. That has turned out to be not true, and that they're probably going to do the special edition versions again, which is like, yay. But if you're wondering, why will this never happen? Here's how the Star Wars movies work right-wise and everything. The original Star Wars film was a studio film for 20th Century Fox. And the only other Star Wars films that are technically studio-financed films other than the original are Force Awakens and Rogue One. If you're like, Jim, you're crazy. No, everything from Empire to Revenge of the Sith was independently financed by George Lucas and Lucasfilm. So when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they effectively bought everything from Empire to Revenge of the Sith. The official trilogy of all of it cannot be released, specifically the 77 one, because Fox owns that. And I don't know if you knew, but Fox and Disney are not friends, like at all. So the likelihood that this will ever happen probably won't, because Disney doesn't want to help Fox make money, and Fox doesn't really want to help Disney make money. So the idea that this could ever happen is highly unlikely. Now, could they just come together and realize, hey, we can both make money? Isn't life grand? Is like a plausibility. And could they maybe want to, and I'm coming from this from nowhere that's confirmed or I've read this anywhere, could they want to make a big announcement on the date of the 40th anniversary of the original release of Star Wars? Or could they be releasing a Last Jedi trailer at that time? I don't know. Could they be using that date for a big promotional push? I'd imagine so. But they most likely will not release the original 4K versions of the Star Wars original trilogy unmessed with probably ever, because life is unfair and the people who own these movies are a bunch of dicks. In other Star Wars news, J.J. Abrams has said that he believes that Mark Hamill will definitely get an Oscar for his performance in The Last Jedi. I'm assuming, since J.J. Abrams, didn't direct The Last Jedi, and to my understanding, didn't have a huge role in the making of it, has seen enough footage that that remark means something, especially coming from the guy who, when he directed Mark Hamill, just had him stare and look at Daisy Ridley. That sounds like a crazy opinion, but that's what he says, so that's some hype for Last Jedi, since that's all we got for that one. Jordan Peele, who directed Get Out, recently said he has 4 more social demon, as people have been saying, horror movies. His exact quote, he didn't actually say social demon, but I've seen that quote used online, oddly enough. But he says the best and the scariest monsters in the world are human beings, and he says he has been working on premises about these innately human monsters that are woven into the fabric of how we think and how we interact. And he wants to put out 4 of these kinds of horror movies, or movies. I don't think he says horror. He doesn't actually say horror, by the way. But anyway, 4 movies within the next decade. So by like 2027, roughly, I guess. But since, he hasn't actually written these or made these movies, who knows? But that's what he said, which is kind of interesting, as I really like Get Out, and I'm curious what his next feature and his next features will actually be. And now in other Get Out news, it lost its 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, which is a pretty rare thing for a horror movie in general. Like, horror movies do not get really 100% scores on Rotten Tomatoes, and especially horror movies directed by a black director. But professional troll and sometimes film critic Armand White put out a negative review, just like he did with Toy Story 3 and any movie that has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, just to take it down, just because he's like a troll and a dick. And you can read his review, I guess. It's not a good review. He gets actually facts about the movie wrong, which is interesting, because I remember when film critic Elvis Mitchell got little details about source code wrong and got fired. But Armand White continues to go on. I don't think he's a very good critic. He uses a lot of big words and tries to defend himself as kind of a troll and finding ways to just like counterpoint people just to do it, but not having any real critical arguments to do it. I don't think he's an interesting critic. There's times where you can actually have a good point that's counter to everyone, but it's clear he is never doing that. He is just being a troll to take down films. And I liked how he did it in a genre and a certain film that never gets this achievement, and he had to be a jerk and take it away and kind of like knock it down a peg. For what reason, really, other than to like just make cinema worse and to make himself look smarter, but not actually have the critical talent to actually make a point with it, just doing it for the sake of doing it. I don't know. I don't particularly like him that much, as you can tell. So let's talk about box office. Oftentimes I've talked on this show about how there's a difference between the estimates, which are released on Sunday, and the actuals, which come out Monday afternoon. And this time there was a difference. Get Out was the #1 movie of the weekend, If you went on Sunday, it said 30 million, but it turns out when they went into the actuals, it actually made 33 million. I don't think this was actually because of the faith-based crowd, unless they're a lot cooler than I thought they were. There's no like actual reason. It just seems like they underestimated, which happens a lot. So Get Out is still number one, but it made 33 million. I think it's almost up to 37 and might break 40 before this coming weekend. Lego Batman was number two with 19 and is now the highest grossing film of 2017 in America, at least, besting Split. John Wick Chapter 2 continues to hold. It actually went up to number 3, which is cool for John Wick Chapter 2, which I believe has made more than John Wick and has made about $74 million, which is awesome for a cool action movie like that. Rock Dog opened at number 11th with 3 million. I didn't see Rock Dog. I know people wanted me to, but damn, did that shit flop. And also there was a movie called Collide, which I didn't know about till it opened, and even though it was in 2,000 screens, wow, it made about $1 million. So I'm curious what that movie is, but I don't give enough of a fuck to look it up. In much sadder news, and probably news that hung over the whole Oscar proceedings this year, was learning that Bill Paxton had died in complications of surgery. Bill Paxton, I was always kind of a big James Cameron fan in the 90s. This is like pre-Titanic even. And so I've watched a lot of Bill Paxton because he's in literally every James Cameron movie but Avatar. And I've loved Bill Paxton in a lot of films, from A Simple Plan to his infamous role in Alien and many others. I was really saddened by that. You can read James Cameron's statement, which I'll link below. I think it was probably one of the sadder celebrity deaths that's really hit me because he's one of my favorite character actors. He recently, like within the past month or so, I don't know the exact date, did an interview with Mark Maron on the WTF podcast. And if you really do like Bill Paxton, I highly recommend that. And it was a really good interview. It was like, I was excited to hear it. I was like, Bill Paxton. He's probably one of, I've noticed between this and John Hurt, we're losing some of our greater character actors. And actually two of our greater character actors that made the Alien franchise what it was. Bill Paxton will always be one of my favorite character actors from now and forever. And I think he will be sorely missed. There are some things about the Oscars I didn't get to talk about in my Oscar video, where I talk more in depth about it, but because of the whole Best Picture mix-up thing, we kind of missed a lot of bigger deals that actually happened with Moonlight winning, which I don't think anyone got to examine. In fact, when I tweeted about them, several people messaged me like, why didn't I hear about this? So I'm going to tell you. First off, it is the first film to win Best Picture directed by an African-American director, which is a pretty big deal. Barry Jenkins is only the second black filmmaker to have directed a Best Picture. No black director has won Best Director, by the way. Both times, Alfonso Cuarón won for Gravity, the year 12 Years a Slave won, and this year, Damien Chazelle won. One of the producers of this, whose name escapes me unfortunately, she's the first woman to win 2 Best Picture Oscars. Those go to producers. She's the first female producer to do that. This is the first film with a largely black cast taking place in more of a modern setting to win Best Picture. This is also the first film with a gay protagonist to win Best Picture, and is the first film from A24 to win Best Picture. So those are kind of like 4 bigger things that I didn't get to talk about because honestly I didn't know that, because I literally shot my video right after the big Best Picture snafu. So there was a lot going on. So I think it's not to say people ignored them on purpose. I think it was more ignored because they're like, what the fuck just happened, man? Like, it was just like all the craziness, I think, when the dust settled. So those are kind of bigger things that we all missed. In terms of the Best Picture flub and what has happened since, there's various theories and I'll have them linked below. One is that the guy who handed the envelope was actually tweeted this picture of Emma Stone backstage right after she won her Best Actress Oscar, which was the category given out right before, and he was distracted and ended up giving the wrong envelope, the backup envelope, because each stagehand, there's stagehands on either side, I talked about this in my Oscar video, who have identical envelopes. So both of them have a Best Actress, both of them have Best Sound Mixing, they both have all of them, and so actors switch sides they come out on, and so he, I guess, gave them the next envelope but should have given them the Best Picture, but he was distracted. The accountants involved have been booted from ever attending an Oscar ceremony again. I've listened to the video of it, and you can actually hear Warren Beatty saying to Faye Dunaway, but it said Emma Stone, and there's a whole thing apparently about Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty don't actually get along very well. They actually had a fight over who gets to say Best Picture, and she really wanted to, and apparently she just kind of grabbed it and said, okay, cool, I get a line, and just read La La Land just because she wanted to. There's all sorts of nonsense, even though I've heard like she kind of ducked out and even said like, I really fucked up, but apparently for most of the time she was just chilling out eating nuts and stuff. It's like a whole thing, and it's going to keep getting more and more interesting from there. Let's move on to various articles and videos that are not trailers but are interesting nonetheless. First off is from the tracking board, what's next for the Oscar nominees. If you're ever like watching the Oscars and be like, yeah, but I won't see these people for 2 years. Like, what are they working on? It's actually a handy like guide. You can go through and see what everyone's working on coming up. If you're wondering when you'll see these people, you can find out through this article. Another article by Matt Singer over at Screen Crush was When Did March Become Part of Summer Movie Season, which goes into when March started to have so many blockbusters and kind of the history of that, which is fairly recent. Spoiler, I guess, it actually started with 300, believe it or not, and he breaks that down. It's actually quite interesting, so I recommend that article. 2 videos. One, Terrence Malick directed a Perfume ad starring Angelina Jolie in typical Terrence Malick fashion. A lost, or no one really knew about, I guess, Scorsese documentary short about Giorgio Armani in 1990, which is interesting. I keep hearing about various different lost Scorsese movies, but this is documentaries, in fact. But this is one nobody knew about. There's a 10-minute clip, but it's a short documentary, so is that like half of it or something? But I don't know. Anyway, you can check that out through the link below if you'd like to. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it. I just heard about this before we were shooting, but I wanted to put it in here. Anyway, I'm going to put the trailers in 2 groups here. All right, one is Netflix, the other is other trailers. So let's do Netflix first. All right, so the first one is Okja, which is from the director of Snowpiercer, whose name I will totally butcher and get wrong. And that looks interesting. It comes out in the summer, starring Tilda Swinton, something involving man and beast, and looks very crazy. The Bright teaser, which played during the Oscars and has Will Smith in it, is directed by Suicide Squad director David Ayers, which is kind of one of their bigger pushes. It is going to come out in December. I'm presuming that probably around Christmas time, but it just says December, so I'm just like throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks. The next is it's a TV show, but it's going to be at least the first episode directed by David Fincher, so let's just count it. It's called Mindhunter, and it looks kind of cool. And the trailer, actually, it's like a teaser thing, I guess. It's supposed to come out in October, and that looks pretty cool as well. And then finally, the trailer for War Machine starring Brad Pitt, and this was kind of one of their bigger productions, also including Bright, that they purchased. And that trailer came out as well. It looks kind of interesting, but it sort of looks like the only sort of thing you'd only watch if it was on Netflix. I don't think anyone would see this in theaters. The final Kong Skull Island trailer, which is like, okay guys, you're still making those, but it's cool, so whatever. It actually made me more excited for it, although who knows when I'll get to see that. Next is the Alien Convent trailer, which actually I think looks really cool. And the more I'm seeing from Alien Convent, the more I'm interested in it. It looks less and less like its shittier, dumber, fun sequel to being like maybe the better sequel, maybe the Aliens 2 Prometheus Alien, but that's assuming Alien sucked, which it doesn't. So I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I'm just hoping Alien Convent's good. So my wife is still pregnant. I do not know when this baby is coming, but I'm probably going to keep making videos on a regular schedule till that happens. And so Movie Crap will probably go on a hiatus for a couple weeks after that happens, but until that happens I will keep making them. Since I don't know when that'll happen, just follow me on Twitter. There'll be some sort of an announcement, and there are videos I'm saving up after that. But until then, thank you for watching Movie Crap. Since the last Movie Crap, there was the review of Get Out. There was my 2017 Oscars reactions. I posted an early review on my Patreon of a certain video, which you will not, everyone else won't get to see until after the baby, but it is up on Patreon early. And then a review of Atop the Fourth Wall. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments about any of the various stories in this episode of Movie Crap, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. A lot of people come up to me and they go, so movie shit. And I'm like, no, it's not movie shit. I mean, I considered that, but it's not. It's movie crap. People, you know.